Well, hello and welcome back to another episode of the At Odds Pod. Delighted to say, as ever, I'm joined by Sam and Jake, who held the fort very well with their midweek shouts. I believe the lads had a double up as well while I was busy sunning myself in Lisbon and watching one of the worst performances I've ever seen for a team that I've been cheering on. But I will touch on Sporting Lisbon a little bit later on in the show. Sam, how are you? All good? Enjoyed the recent midweek football that we're coming off the back of?
Loved it. I was fortunate enough to go see Fulham Brighton. I know you messaged me. I put out a tweet saying how amazing Craven Cottage is, and you messaged me asking if I was trolling. I think it's the best stadium in England. And
It's not,
legitimately,
is it? It's not. It's very pretty.
I love it.
It's very pretty and has heritage, but it's not got an atmosphere. And
I like that. Like when you're neutral. Like as a neutral, I don't care about either team. I like the atmosphere. It's just a bit chilled. Everyone just loves Mitro. Like he's an absolute god there. I just love it. I love it.
Jake, still got a neutral end.
Yeah, I think they do. Yeah,
exactly. Jake, I know that one club that doesn't have a neutral end but does struggle to sell out is your beloved Man City. Perhaps that's something they'll need to do. Or should I call you Erling Haaland FC, which is what you're fast becoming now?
I've run out of superlatives for him already, to be honest. But I was like, he's just an absolute robot, isn't he? It's crazy. And the fact that last night we can bring him off and bring on De Bruyne in his place is scary. It's absolutely scary. I love it. I love it. And Julian Alvarez too. Got to give him a little shout out.
Very impressive. We'll touch on City a little bit later on, but Premier League this weekend, a mouth-watering set of fixtures, really. It doesn't sort of seem to stop now with the World Cup condensing a lot of action. We will also have a spin-off pod you'll be able to listen to, which covers all the Champions League. So do give us a subscribe if you're watching us on YouTube, and a like. We really appreciate it. Add your comments on whatever you're listening to. We love your questions. We love your feedback. Tell us what your weekend bankers are. But we're going to kick off by having a little chat around the Merseyside Derby. Everton, Frank Lampard's Everton, who could do with a win, I think, here, it's fair to say. Play host to near neighbours Liverpool, who had that last-minute winner against Newcastle last time out. Right, chaps. So, let's kick off with you, Sam. Who needs a result in this game more? Now, I know people say, both teams need a result, but who's under more pressure right now? Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool side that at times, take the 9-0 Bournemouth out of the equation, have faltered, or Frank Lampard, who slowly but surely is getting a little bit better. Is it fair to say at Everton?
I think so. I've spoke about Everton a bit recently, but they are still, don't get me wrong, they are not the best side in the league. But in signing those two captains, Tarkowski and Cody, that defence looks considerably better than it did last year, where they look like it's like some sort of comedy at times. And I think that is going to get them a long way. And it's just the levels that those two captains are going to bring to the team as well. I think they just look good. Anthony Gordon, I don't know if I've said it on this show or elsewhere. I think this guy is Sadio Mane part 2. Everyone's going to be thinking he's not worth the money. And in a few years, we'll look back and be like, actually, he was pretty good, wasn't he? That's goodbye. Obviously, he doesn't look like he's going to go to Chelsea now, but I think he's a really talented boy. I'm not convinced by Liverpool. I watched the game last night, and to be honest with you, I don't think they deserve to win. I think the draw was the fair result. They were doing so much with the ball in terms of possession, but they didn't, and they had a lot of shots, but none of them were really great opportunities, I wouldn't say, and I didn't feel like they were particularly likely to score at times. So for me, I think Klopp still needs it more, because for Everton, Everton finished 15th in the Premier League this season. That's a win. That's an absolute dub, I'd say. And they'd probably say that's quite a good job by Lampard, really. But for Klopp, anything but second is a bit of a disappointment. And there are wider questions around this Liverpool team. This habit they've got into with conceding early goals. I kind of wrote yesterday, it's got to a point where this isn't a coincidence anymore. This is a trend, because it is happening so often. Good teams don't do that. And you can win last-minute goals all you want. You can get your disgusting bright teeth out in front of the cameras as much as you want and gloat about beating a Newcastle team. But ultimately, you shouldn't be putting yourself in that position. And when you play a top side, you will get punished.
Jake, I know you've got quite a strong view on this game, and it kind of actually, looking at the bet you're going to select here, you think Liverpool are vulnerable?
I just feel that Everton will get something out of this game. I think that the game, being at Goodison Park, is massive. The fans are going to fully get behind the team. We've seen at Goodison Park the fans lining up outside the ground with flares and everything before kickoff, and they'll do that again this weekend, and they'll fully back their team. And Everton or draw at 2-1 just seems like really good value for this one. I know that Liverpool have got a great record against Everton, and all signs do point to a Liverpool win, but I just think at that price of 2-1, it's massive. And again, Anthony Gordon has been great for them so far. Neil Maupay may make his debut in this one too, and he could provide a bit of a difference for Everton too up front, because at times they have looked toothless. But I think that having a striker up there may be something that changes them completely. They've obviously been unlucky with Calvert-Lewin's injuries, and it's something that Frank Lampard needs to sort out fast. But again, I just feel that 2-1 is a big price.
Yeah, no, I think that's a nice assessment of the game. Sam, you and I both like our card bets in this one. I'm having a little flick through the prices. It's skinny enough, I think it's fair to say. Any strong view on anyone? Do you think there'll be a lot of bookings in this game being a derby, or do you think we might actually see a fairly clean Merseyside derby?
I think you mentioned this at the start of the season about kind of being a bit careful with the card bets until we know what this new substitution thing is going to be. And obviously the refs have been told to be a bit more lenient, I think, at times, and let stuff go. So I'm still a little bit apprehensive about it. But there is one player, I'm just trying to find this price right now. There's one player I absolutely love to get a card here, and that is...
got the prices if you need some help.
Have you got a Harvey Elliott price for me? Because
Harvey Elliott, 6-1 with... That's the best price I can find out there.
I like that because I think I'll be honest, I think he was Liverpool's best player last night. So probably would have deserved the man of the match, even though I'd say like Isak and Dan Burn were better than him personally. But Harvey Elliott was good. He will play again this weekend, I'd imagine. And he is a little bit feisty. And I think when people are giving him a good shoeing, which they will do on Saturday, I think there's a chance he nibbles back. He gets a bit naughty as well. So I think it's 6-1. I think that's just a really nice price.
Yeah, I suppose just for comparison, players I was looking at similar prices. Virgil van Dijk, potentially, if Anthony Gordon can get a run at him, I think he could be vulnerable to a cheap foul. I love the angle of Jake. If you like Jake's view that you think Everton can get something, Jordan Pickford's already 5-1 for a card, which is a bit short. I'd probably wait to him play and see if he can get 6-7s at some point, because if it's a close game, he's such a shithouse goalkeeper. You just know that he'll be going down, wasting time. Even Everton will be taking a point, won't they? Come the 85th minute, if it's 1-1, they're going to be slowing everything down because a point's a win for them in this kind of game. So that's kind of where I was heading.
I think you've got to say, sorry, Nathan Patterson as well, right back. I mean, he's going to be against Luis Diaz. He's been at Everton now. How long is it? 2 years? 1 year? But
yeah.
I think he's going to be. I think he's going to be somebody that could really kind of find himself isolated against like a Luis Diaz or somebody like that and end up getting. Yeah,
he's around 12-5, so he's a bit skinnier. But again, he does look the type that will probably play the full game. And
maybe a bet builder type of addition, that one.
Yeah, it'd be very interesting to see. I'll tell you just one more question on this game, then we'll move on. Former Mo Salah picked up a couple of assists, didn't he, the other night? He's 1-2 to score or assist, which I thought of Mo Salah last year seems a big price, but he has looked a bit quieter this season for me, Jake, since Mane left. I kind of expected him to really pick up the mantle. Obviously, Firmino seems to have realised his place is under threat because, boy, has he turned up.
I think in terms of salary, he just still looks a bit tired for me, to be honest. I think since the African Cup of Nations in January, his form hasn't been the same as we've expected it to be. And again, it may be because he's tired. It might just be that you've got Diaz on the other side outshining him. But I just think that we all know that Salah can turn it around, and on his day he's insane. So he's going to do something in this game, isn't he? Let's be honest, he's going to be involved in some way.
Yeah, definitely 1 to 2 for a goal or an assist, which to me looks like bet builder material if you like that sort of thing. Right, another big game on Saturday in terms of, well, teams with different aspirations at either end of the table is the Aston Villa Man City tie. And I thought I'd sort of found a little bit of a nice angle here and I had quite a strong view, but my God, Sam Farley's going to blow me out the window here. And Jake, this will be music to your ears. Sam, you're tipping up Man City -3 at 16 to 1. Fill us in on your view on the Villa City game.
I look at this. I look at this Villa team, and I think they are an absolute shambles. Defensively dreadful. I don't want to slag off Steven Gerrard anymore, but I don't think he's the guy for that job, or he certainly isn't yet. Maybe he needs a bit more time, but it's this chopping and changing every week. It's a different team he puts out constantly. Does he know what his best team is? I don't think he does. And now he's going to face a Man City team that are just ripping people apart. And I think Haaland's going to get a couple at least. So I think Man City -3 at 16 to 1. Sorry, that should be 6 to 1, not 16 to 1.
Fine.
I think that is the best value bet out there. 6 to 1. I think that is absolute wheelbarrow job.
I mean, that's not as tempting to me now. I mean, I thought -1 at evens was where I'd go in the game because I think Villa are going to have to put some resolve up there, aren't they? You know, they are in a relegation dogfight, and we're still all right. It's September the 1st, isn't it? But they're in a dogfight. It's horrible. It's going to be grim for them, and something will have to give. Either they'll have to get a shock result and beat City, or much more likely they're going to lose Steven Gerrard as manager, aren't they? And we had this conversation off air, and Jake was very much like, well, they didn't sack him before the Arsenal game. They've played Arsenal, who obviously are in fine form at the moment and lost, and they're going to play Man City, who couldn't be any hotter. So how can you sack him after that? Well, I guess my concern is, do you then give him the Leicester game, which is on paper now, a really important game. And if they lose that, you kind of lost the opportunity to regain that momentum and give someone a free. I mean, it sounds mad. I'd have sacked Gerrard. It's easy to say after the event. I'd have sacked him before the Arsenal game and given a coach a chance to have five sort of a couple of working days into the window and then some time with the team. Because on paper, that Villa team looks really good to me. I won't have them as relegation fodder, Sam.
I would totally disagree. I think you've got to keep him till after City, then you bomb him out if they get hammered as we expect. Because I think if you see against Arsenal, I guess it was more spirited. They only lost by 1 goal. If they put up a similar performance against City, you'd then say, look, he has got them galvanised, got them fighting for each other. Let's give him that spell against Leicester, Southampton, Leeds, Forest. Then I think that makes sense. But also, if they do get absolutely hosed by Man City, which I think they will, then you can get rid the bad vibes in there and you get somebody else in and it's start afresh. Whereas I think if you'd have done it, I understand your point, Ari, the transfer window, but if you'd have done it before that game, the new manager comes in and they lose 6-0, I think the guy's on hiding to nothing to start with. So for me, I think it would make the best sense if they do want to sack him to wait until after Saturday afternoon's game.
Yeah, we have, of course, got the international break looming, the only one before the World Cup, which I guess might be a good opportunity for a few managers to have the trigger pulled on them, I should say. Okay, well, unless there's anything else, I think that wraps up Saturday, the couple of games we wanted to focus on there nicely, and we'll move into Sunday. And I'll let Sam host this little section of the show because I think we've all got some views for Sunday which differ slightly.
Yeah, so obviously we're all focusing on the big game on Sunday, which is the Man United Arsenal game. We don't have any tips for Brighton Leicester. Don't worry about that. So we're just going to talk about Man United Arsenal. And let's just be honest. This is quite varied here. This is a massive game. Obviously, at Old Trafford. These games used to be the toast of the Premier League. This was what it was all about. Vieira, Keane, Henry, Van Nistelrooy. It was beautiful. Now, they've basically been rubbish for about 6 or 7 years, maybe a bit longer. But it does feel like for the first time in a long time, this is actually a really, really interesting game for both teams, because you've obviously got a Man United team who I think you'd have to say things are looking up. Maybe not drastically, but there's definitely green shoots and things that supporters can cling on to. For Arsenal, I mean, it goes without saying, top of the league, doing absolutely superbly. But this is going to be a really tough one. So, Jake, why don't you tell us how this is going to go down?
Well, I've got goals in my bet. My bet's over 2.5 goals. So I just feel like this game is one of those that does have goals written all over it. I've been impressed by both teams in the last few weeks. Arsenal against Villa last night, they impressed me massively, because we've seen Arsenal in recent seasons get to games where they've like gone 1-1 or even gone goals down at times, and they've not come back. The heads have all dropped. But last night, everything all turned around and they got a goal back straight away as soon as they conceded. So I think that Arteta's team, they're going to go into this one with confidence. A lot of people have gone to Old Trafford in the last few years and they've been confident. I'm not sure if Ten Hag is going to fully change that round and he's going to make it a fortress again, but I just feel like there is going to be goals in this one, to be honest. Boz, what do you think of this game?
Yeah, listen. It's too. Do you know what? It's a bit of a shame. I'd love this game to kind of been played, and they wouldn't have done it in the week before we go into the World Cup break, because it's too early. And listen. I know we're here trying to get people to view our videos, and it'd be really easy to make outlandish statements, wouldn't it? Oh, Arsenal are going to be the people to challenge City for the title. Just look at their recent form. United are, going to be back. I don't.
Yeah.
The jury's still well and truly out on both these sides. Let's not get too carried away. I've been really taken by Arsenal, and it's probably little things more than the way that they're playing great football. Because I always think Arsenal have played pretty good football. It's things like they concede a goal to Villa, and then it's a real quick response. The heads don't go down. They've got the ability to play themselves back into games. I'm not sure if Man United have got that yet. That's where Arsenal are ahead of them in this new cycle. United have ground out a result against Southampton, and they've obviously got a brilliant win against Liverpool. Those are the two things that I've been impressed by with United, because they've done that. I don't think yet United have got the strength of character to come back from losing positions. I think that's something you'll see later on. And I'm really keen on Arsenal here. I think they're just a bit further ahead in that renewal curve. I still don't think they're necessarily going to be title contenders this year, Arsenal. I'd love to say it. I'd love to be stronger. But my bet for the game is a player that's in absolute form. And Gabriel Jesus is 11-10 to score or assist for Arsenal. I know United have kept 2 clean sheets in the last couple of league games, but I don't foresee that being the case here. Arsenal have been so good at going forward. I'll probably have a look as well, and I'll be backing Arsenal to score the first goal in the game. I can see Arteta really needs to get off to a quicker start. If United go in at half-time 0-0, it's not a bad result for them. They can creep into the game. I'd be concerned for Arsenal's chances if they aren't taking the lead. So that's what I want to see. Gabriel Jesus, I think, has had a fantastic season. He's not afraid to set somebody else up. He's very fluid with his play, very unselfish, but at odds against to get a goal or assist when he's been doing that every week, it feels like for the last couple of weeks. I know it's Man United, probably a bit more of a challenge than the likes of Bournemouth, but he is in great form, absolutely stunning form. And that's the way I see it going.
I'm going to go slightly different to both of you, I think. Although not necessarily, I mean, it could still be the case. It doesn't totally contradict you, but I think the best bet here is a draw at half-time at 13-10. I think United will be trying to set out their stall, keep it tight. I think that's one thing that since that Brentford loss, I think they have done quite well, is the gaps between the fullbacks, the centre-halves. are a lot narrower than they were. The introduction of a holding midfielder who actually knows how to play the position, I think just gives the defence that little bit more protection as well. And I do think United against these better teams, and this has been the way since Ferguson left, have actually been maybe not good, but they have been consistently far better against good quality teams than they are when they play a Southampton or a Stoke or something like that. So for me, I think a draw at halftime at 13-10 makes a lot of sense. But I noticed none of us have picked a team to win there in our bet. So just quickly before we move on to bankers, bust and draw, your life is depending on it. 1x2, are you going United draw or a Arsenal win?
Draw.
I'm going to go for the... Yeah, unfortunately, I'm very uninventive. If you get to 75 minutes and they're both at 1-1, 0-0, would both managers take the point? Yes, doesn't mean they're going to play to it, but I could quite easily see it being a draw. I don't think either's going to be unless it's literally 1-0. You're not going to see keepers going up for corners with 5 minutes to go. I just think it's... Yeah, I'd go for the draw. It's really boring, but I guess that's one way we've kind of all agreed, at least at halftime anyway. We think it's going to end up that way.
I'd go for a draw as well. So, yeah, we're all quite aligned on that. But speaking of draws, that is, of course, part of Bankers Bust and Draw. That is a brilliant segue by me. So you know how we do this. We each pick a banker, we each pick a bust, and we each pick a draw. So, I don't know. I can see two of us have got the same two teams first, actually. So, Boz, why don't we both talk about why we picked Man City as our banker?
Well, I'm confident and you're uber confident, so that's the easy way. We've spoken a lot about City. I've put him up at -1. Sam's going to go for -3. Yeah, we both think... I mean, listen, you are picking the team arguably in the second or best form of the league, facing a team that's looked absolutely woeful. I mean... this is a Villa side that I thought were going to absolutely walk all over Bournemouth in game week 1. They didn't. I could forgive them, but I don't think they got the spirit or the courage to get a result against City, which you really need. Palace are in a much better place. They scored 2-0 up on City, and we still lost 4-2. I just don't see how Villa get anything out of the game. So, yeah, City, my banker. I'm sure you'd echo those thoughts, Sam.
Yeah, absolutely. Jake, why don't you tell us who your banker is?
My banker is Spurs. Spurs to beat Fulham. I think that it's going to be... It could well be a tricky game for Spurs, but I think that they've got to make that ground a fortress this year. If they are going to have a title charge, then they've got to make that home ground a fortress fully, and getting a win against a Fulham team who will make it tough. It will be massive, massive for them. So Spurs are my banker.
I got a really quick question on Spurs, and I know this isn't the place to do it, but I'm going to ask it anyway. What's going on with Son's form this year?
It's a mad one, isn't it? It is really mad. I'm not sure if the fact that Richarlison's come in has shook him a little bit, or if it is more of a case of him just focusing on the World Cup. That might be it, to be honest. He might not want to throw himself about.
I don't know. Just watching Spurs, I don't know how you go from last year where he was obviously golden boot
class.
Whether it's the style has changed slightly, it surprised me. And I haven't watched a lot of Spurs.
Games. It's 4 games.
All right. Son's still going to be a golden boot contender then, Farley?
No.
There we go.
I do think I'd have said that before the season, because I do think I think he overperformed last year, and he benefited from the start where Harry Kane was off form. So I'd say it will regress slightly anyway. But I think he'll still give it a couple of weeks. I'm sure he'll be back to his best. He's too good, in my view, not to get there again.
Fair enough. Farley, you better give us your bust, because I've just noticed we've copied each other once again. So you can have this first turn on the bust.
The team for me is Chelsea. I really do worry about Chelsea. Said it literally, if you go back to that first episode we did, the season preview, I don't think Tuchel's going to be there at the end of the season. I don't like their purchases in the transfer window. They've got this glaring need for a striker. They spent most of the time chasing defenders who I don't even know are necessarily huge upgrades right now. Fofana's obviously in now, 75 million. Good player, potentially a very good player. A lot of cash though, and again, don't really fits the need. I just don't. I look at this team. They've experimented with a back four that just does not work. The players, for me, don't fit what he's trying to do. I really just don't think it's very good. I don't think it's a great vibe there right now. And they're obviously in this game playing West Ham. And look, West Ham haven't been great, but West Ham versus Chelsea can always get a little bit naughty. And I think this is one you absolutely just stay away from this game. I'm not saying Chelsea will lose, but I don't feel overly confident backing them, especially at very short odds-on price too.
Yeah, I thought West Ham were a massive price. If you want to dabble, and with the 2-up concession that a lot of bookmakers have, that can always be in your favour. As Palace backers found out the other day, sadly, I wasn't that brave. But yeah, on Chelsea, you've said most of it, Sam. I know, like this, we're recording this right on transfer deadline evening, so it's a bit hard because we don't know if they've secured the return of Alba to the Premier League, which would be a really interesting move, very short term for me. A lot of their business seems odd. Billy Gilmore's been talked up as this great hope for them in midfield. He's going to disappear off. I wouldn't be shocked to see Conor Gallagher stay there rather than leave, but I don't know whether he could actually be beneficial. I think he'd benefit from another season elsewhere. The style, Sam, that you hit the nail on the head. My dad's a Chelsea fan, and he says to me, I can't watch us this season and know what's going to happen. Like in terms of setup, in terms of who, like, and that really frustrates him because he said there's no style to it. It's kind of a bit, I think the Harlem Globetrotters was the term he used. We've got all these great players and we throw them onto the pitch.
Yeah.
And if we score first, we'll be all right. But you only have to look at what Southampton did. And I'm still not sold on Southampton as this decent side that we're all underestimating. I still think they're a bit moderate. So yeah, Chelsea were my bus, way too short at the prices. Sorry, Jake. Better show.
I was just going to say, interestingly enough, Aubameyang's probably going to be out till October too, according to reports, because he got a broken jaw, hasn't he?
Yes, he got robbed, which is awful. So
yeah, so it might be signing him, and it might be a month until we see him, and then it could be a long month for Chelsea if they don't get a win at the weekend. But I think it's a good pick from both of you. I've gone for Liverpool just because it makes sense. My Saturday best bet's Everton or draw, and I feel that if there is anyone this weekend who may slip up, it's going to be Liverpool for me, because that early kickoff again is a tricky one, and Merseyside Derby, I just think that Everton are a potential stinker for Liverpool this week. Busts. Who likes to go? Oh, draw. Sorry, who wants to go first for the draw?
We've got different ones here at least. So
yeah,
this is progression. So the 3 draws you're going to need to treble up starts with Wolves v Southampton for me. How Wolves are just a weird team now. I thought when I watched them against Spurs, they did enough to deserve something. They then play a Bournemouth side that have been pumped at the weekend. They've got a manager from the backroom staff managing them after Scott Parker's gone, with a really dreadful prep for the game, and they can't score a goal. This just stinks of a 0-0, doesn't it? It really does absolutely stink of a 0-0. Southampton would take the point all day long away from home. Wolves, I think, I don't know what it is. They've got so many good players. It just don't seem I don't enjoy watching Wolves ever. So maybe I've not seen enough of them, or maybe it's been unlucky. But yeah, for me, that game reeks of a draw.
I think their biggest issue is they don't really have a proper striker, and they're set out to not lose games as opposed to try and win them. And I think if you put if there was a managerial change, I don't know, but until there's either a managerial change or maybe they sign a striker in January or whatever, I reckon you could win money if you bat them under 2.5 and draw every single week. I just don't see anything but that happening pretty much constantly.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how I'm going to pronounce this dreadfully. I'm just looking over at my phone to get the pronouncement right. It's Sasa Kaladozic from Stuttgart for 14.5 million. Will he be the man to solve their woes? I don't know. I haven't watched much Stuttgart, so I can't tell you if I'll be completely fictitious. Always think it's a bit brave bringing in a player that's never played Premier League as your big signing to try and score some goals. Who knows? I think it pays off for some teams. Be interesting to see how he gets on.
Yeah, it will be, definitely. Farley, what's your draw for this weekend?
Yeah, Farley, what's your draw?
Mine is Forest Bournemouth. I think Bournemouth are one of the worst teams I've ever seen in the Premier League. In a way, Forest should win this, to be honest with you. But how many signings are they on now? Like 20, is it? 19, 20?
I think, 21.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry, you just cannot bed in that many players. It's the most ridiculous bit of business I've ever seen. And I think this is a team that aren't even, they're going to turn up on Saturday and not even know each other's names against a team who are the worst team in Premier League history, giving that awful Derby team a run for their money. I think this is 0-0. This awful game.
Giving that Derby team a run for the money is a massive shout.
I think that's unfair when they've already got 3 points on the board, 4 points on the board. I mean, they're already basically halfway to Derby, and it's only September the 1st.
They'll find a way, don't worry.
My draw, very quickly, my draw is United Arsenal. I know I've gone for overs as my Sunday best bet, so I may even go for Desmond this weekend at 14-1. But I think that there's a massive chance that it's a draw because both sides are as good as each other, I think, on the day. So, yeah, that's my pick for that. Should we go to EFL next? I think we should. Farley, you're our EFL expert. That's what I'll pin you as anyway. So we'll go for you for your pick for EFL this weekend, first of all.
So for me, this game I'm going to be going to actually, Derby versus Plymouth. I think this is both teams to score number. We are, and we have been for a couple of years, generally brilliant if you want to back overs or both teams to score. Going up to Derby, tough place to go. They're a good side. They'll score against us, I think. But ultimately, I think we've got some really good creative players. Finazaz on loan from Aston Villa, a superb little player, was Newport's Player of the Year and in the Team of the Year last year for League Two. He is a special player. And I think we'll create enough chances to score. Derby will definitely score 22-23, basically even money on that. I'll have some of that. Thank you very much.
Okay, I like that a lot. Boz, what's your pick for this weekend?
I just literally did a little scouring, and I like to try and find what I'd call a bet in each league. And usually I struggle with the Championship, but there's an absolute brilliant bet. I don't understand why Norwich are 4-5 to beat Coventry. Norwich, second, third in the league, playing all right, warming up. Josh Sargent scoring some goals for fun. As long as he doesn't get a late move, I think they'll be fine. They might lose a couple, I believe, but I think they've still got a good enough squad to beat Coventry. They've only played the 4 games this year in comparison to the rest of the league because they had those pitch issues. Yeah. They look like they've been so cold starting the league. I can't think of a worse preparation. I've mentioned it before on this podcast, but Norwich 4-5. Take my money. I do not understand the price. I'd have them at least 2 clicks shorter from my very limited EFL knowledge. But looking at the form book, Coventry, I think will struggle here. So there we go.
Yeah, I think it's rare that we're going to see Norwich at 4-5 for the rest of the season, to be honest. And it's one to put in your rackers, definitely. My pick for this weekend's EFL games is Portsmouth and Peterborough, both teams to score and no draw. Now, I was going to do just both teams to score in this one because I think that they're both sides who love a goal. But 8-13, I can't really tip that. So 6-4 for both teams to score and there to be either side to win, I think, is a massive price in that game. And again, Peterborough, I've spoke about this last weekend, there's always goals when Peterborough are about. So, yeah, I think that's a good bet for this weekend's EFL
game. 7-1 on the treble, and I've got to say, I really like the look of that.
Yeah, I was just putting it through BetCap just to see what you're kind of getting. So thanks for beating me to it, Sam. And I think that's I know it's a bit shorter than we had the 10-1 winner 2 weeks ago, but I still think that's really solid. Really, really solid. And I guess we go from the homegrown stuff to stretching our wings and heading abroad. And I'm going to kick off this section because it was me that last week was very excited about going to watch. Oh my God. We went to a game which was dreadful. Shavas, the other side, were something like 16-1 pre-game. And they won 2-0 and had 2 chances, took them. Sporting Lisbon Absolutely. There was no chance. If I'd have put all my money in the world on Ronaldo not going there, if I saw how poor they were. I will be taking them on in most of their Champions League games. They look like they really missed the key player that they'd sold to Wolves at the start of the season. Goal-wise, they were very shy of ideas. They chucked the ex-Liverpool centre-back up there for most of the second half, then decided to try and play it into feet. I mean, logic defies me. If you're putting a centre-back up front, why aren't you trying to put it in the air? They were horrendous. And they're actually playing Friday night, so you need to get on this quick. It's Estoril they play, who are recently promoted and having a really good time of things. And the bookmakers are yet again overestimating Sporting Lisbon. Estoril +2 are 8-13. I'm not quite brave enough to back them out right at 7s, but I think they'll give them a game. I really do. Sporting haven't scored in the last 2 now, albeit one of them was against Porto. They look toothless against opposition they should have been competing with. So that's where I'm going to end up. Jake, luckily for us, is covering something a bit closer to home, which I'm really excited about because I'm watching the game with a Rangers fan on Saturday. It's the Old Firm. So, I mean, we just back cards in this, don't we, Jake? That's the usual rule of thumb.
Pretty much, yeah. Now, I've looked at the card markets, and obviously bookmakers are already shortened up everyone. I've tried to look at a few stats, so I've picked out players who have already had bookings so far this year, and it's always one of them games where there is cards. Now, before I go and give you my bet for this one, I will more than likely have the double of both teams to score, 4 corners each, 2 bookings each for the Old Firm game and the Merseyside Derby, because they're both at the same time. Gives you something fun to bet for the early kickoffs on Saturday, and you'll get a decent price for it, double figures odds probably. But my card bet for this one is Connor Goldson, Callum McGregor, and John Lundstrom to be carded. Now, the best price for that currently is 12-1. Goldson's been carded 3 times already this season, with Lundstrom and McGregor both being booked. And again, it needs nothing, no description for me whatsoever about what's going to happen in this game, because there's always bookings in Old Firm games and it's always tasty. And especially this season where no one's really kicked on and got like a heavy lead in the league. I know it's obviously early days, but there's usually one of the teams looks a lot stronger than the other. And so far, I don't think that's the case. Obviously, we've seen them both in the Champions League group stages. So, yeah, I think that cards are written all over it, and it's something that most of us will probably bet on this weekend in that game.
I'm looking forward to split screening it between the 2 games. And
yes,
we'll round off our foreign footy segment with our resident hipster, who's going for a game which I can confess I don't think I've seen much from either side so far this season. Werder Bremen taking on Bochum. Farley, what's the story here? What's the angle? Come on.
So I'll be honest, it's the Old Firm this weekend, and there's the Derby in Milan, and I wanted. So Jake did the old pick for the Old Firm, so I was like, I'm going to get some for the Milan Derby because that's a real must watch. It's in the afternoon on Saturday, so it's a nice little change if you decide you don't want to watch. What is the late game?
City Villa.
City Villa, yeah. If you don't want to watch
Haaland, they'll be 5-0 up by half time, Sam. So you don't need to watch all of it.
Switch over. But I just basically kind of looked through the leagues and I looked to see where I could find some value. And for me, Werder Bremen to win on the road at Bochum on Saturday, it's the same time as the Old Firm, but 7-5 I think is really nice price. Bochum rooted to the bottom of the Bundesliga table, the only team without a point so far. Conceded 13 goals in 3 games. Admittedly, 7 of those were to Bayern Munich, which is probably a bit unfair to criticise them for. But then you got Werder Bremen, who was second in the Bundesliga 2 last year. They're 10th in the league now. 1 win, 2 draws, 1 loss. This is a team, obviously, you know about their big following. They were a massive team when we were a bit younger, but they've been through some hard times. They're back up now. And I just think this Bochum team, you look at the form book, they are woeful. This, to me, screams Werder Bremen win. 7-5, I love it. If I was going to be really picky, I would do Werder Bremen win and under 2.5 as well. Nice little double up on that and probably get a nice price too. But for me, Werder Bremen 7-5 is a nice little bet if you fancy something over in Germany this weekend.
Well, there we go. We've done Germany via Scotland and kicked off in Portugal. Who's to say we don't have a little bit of exotic foreign football on this show? I suppose now we'd usually have my Racing Post anti-post corner. Truthful this week, it's still a bit of a weird time. I know I put one Cheltenham bet up, and that was more out of fear of some of these tipping services starting to put stuff up. There's a chap out there who I won't name, who's not made a profit at Cheltenham for 2 years, yet somehow has a massive following, and people want to follow him blind. We won't ever charge for tips on here, so you don't need to worry about that. But what I would say is it is a bit annoying if he starts tipping up horses that you want to back. So I'm going to just suggest keeping an eye on things. The one good news is...
Guys, can I quickly say one thing? If you would like to hear the name of that man, if you hit subscribe on YouTube, if we hit 50 subscribers by the time this show goes out for the next site, by the time we record the next one, Sam will reveal this guy's name to you.
Look, I'm not in the business of running other people down. I just personally wouldn't pay £9 a month for someone who doesn't seem to make a profit at Cheltenham. But there we go. Aid at 33s, though, lads. We're on to a good thing. Fingers crossed. We are doing dry dances for Paris. 4 weeks away from that. Fingers crossed, and it's a massive fingers crossed we get to see him. Hopefully, he'll take his chance. Right, Farley, we are not far away from the start of the NFL season, which is an excellent time for you to plug our NFL special that we're going to record on Sunday and give us a college football tip.
Yes, so on Sunday we'll be recording a little NFL special, myself and Boz. That'll be released, I assume, Sunday night, maybe Monday morning, but you'll be able to listen to that ahead of Thursday's season opener with the Bills at the Rams. But before we go do that, I'm going to tell you about a little bit I like in college football, a little anti-post that I've got on myself. Last week was technically the start of the college football season with what they call week 0, but they have a kind of few games that week. But this week is the official kind of week 1. All the big boys are out, and it's going to be a lot of fun. If you're ever bored on a Saturday night, the football's over, find yourself flicking onto BT Sport, find the BT Sport ESPN channel, watch whatever college game is on, because it's always good fun. But for me, I love anti-post awards betting in American sports. And for me, the Heisman is effectively, I guess you call it like the MVP of the college season. That would be the kind of best way to word it. The best player in college, it's pretty much always a quarterback, but not always. And there's a guy I like, which is Anthony Richardson of Florida, to be the winner this year, which is a massive 50-1. Basically, there's a few reasons I like him. He is incredibly raw, but has real potential. I think this is a guy we might see in the NFL down the line. He is incredibly exciting. He has a reasonable arm. He is also very good running with the ball, which is something we've seen Heisman winners in the past often kind of have this trait because it gives them just an ability to shatter defenses. So that's one thing I really like about him. And the third thing I like about him is, well, his name's Anthony Richardson. His number is 15. So he was going by the moniker AR-15. And he had some branding that involved the scope of a gun, or the sight of a gun. But obviously, in light of kind of recent events, he's had to have a rethink of his branding. But this is a guy he's packed with personality and charisma. And I think we've seen in the past someone like Johnny Manziel has won a Heisman. And part of that, as well as his ability on the field and the performance he's put in, was this charisma and this personality that he had. And I think you've got a guy here who is raw, could have a huge leap on from last year, which I think is something you often see in a winner. You often see a winner in terms of a quarterback who is good on the ground as well as in the air. He has this. And he's also a real character on a team that people are very invested in, the Florida Gators. So for me, Anthony Richardson at 50-1, I think this is really worth a nibble. Only a small nibble, but I'm almost certain this will be a lot shorter in a couple of months' time, and hopefully could get us a real big winner.
Nice one, Sam. I like it. I mean, I'm not sure I'd be more embarrassed being caught watching on a Saturday night by the missus, Babe Station or college football on BT, but there we go. We'll worry about that for another day. Jake, just need to throw to you now because you're in fits of giggles, but you wanted a serious discussion. It's not about fishing odds or Celebrity Big Brother or Love Island this week. You just wanted an excuse to talk about Haaland a bit more, didn't you, with a bet around the PFA Players Trophy?
Pretty much, yeah. So we've not had any Twitter questions through this week. But again, if you do want to ask us any questions, give us a message at all the socials above, and we'll answer any of the questions that you do have. But my question for you guys this week is Erling Haaland, PFA Player of the Year, 2-1. Is that worth a bet already or not?
No.
No?
If you're thinking about backing him top goal scorer, I'd back him for that because you'll get a better price because he's odds on for top goal scorer.
Yeah, top goal scorer is already 2-9 for top scorer. I think I'll give you the other odds in the top 5 odds. You've got De Bruyne 6-1, Salah 12-1, Jesus 12-1, and then you've got I think Phil Foden at 16-1. So
I think if you like him for top goal scorer, you back him for that because if he's top goal scorer, there's every chance he's going to win player. I mean, and he's not just going to win top goal scorer, is he? I wouldn't want to take it. People said to me, "Oh, you might as well just top up on him now for top goal scorer." Injury can play a huge part in that. I wouldn't want to touch it. If I had to have a bet on Haaland that rolled around it, I thought the price is quite a fair one, Jake, to be honest, in comparison to that. But it reminds me a little bit. Haaland's pricing for stuff reminds me of when, I don't know if you two are old enough to remember, when Messi and Ronaldo turned into their prime years at Barca and Real Madrid.
Yes.
We're not 10, mate.
Buzz. If you had listened in full to the special bonus podcast that we did, Sam Farley said those exact words.
I think that's where he's getting it from. He's heard good wisdom.
Can you tell I've actually been on holiday and not speaking to you two? No, but they changed the game and he is doing just that. It's like Tiger Woods at golf betting. It feels like that's the level we're at, and bookmakers are going to just keep shortening him, and people are going to keep backing him because is Salah, I suppose, and Harry Kane for a period maybe in recent years have been close to that, but.
Yeah,
I don't know. I think looking at it on paper, he's a serious player, isn't he? And it's very exciting for the Premier League. How long we keep him for? I don't know. Jake, you tell me. You're the City fan. Do you think he'll be pastures new for him at some point in the next couple of years?
I think we'll see him here for 3 years, I'd say. And I think I can see him going Spain, maybe. I've heard him speak in the past where he said that he wants to be like similar to Ibrahimovic, where he goes around and plays in all the different leagues. And at the end of the day, I wouldn't begrudge him for going if we get silly money for him. He's rumoured to have a clause in his contract, a buyout clause of around 150 million. So someone will have to pay it.
Going, Jake, that's not going to be that much money.
Yeah,
I tell you what, I reckon next summer, if Neymar's on the move, there'll be a certain club in France that will be looking for a big money signing.
A massive bid.
Can I quickly interject? I think this is a good price, 2-1. I think that is what the price should be. Potentially even a bit shorter, actually. But you're betting 2-1 on something that has still got another 34 games to go. And while I don't doubt he probably will be the best Premier League player this year, that's a lot of games he could get injured in. And at 2-1, I don't really want to take that risk.
Here's the solution then. Farley, you lay Jake 3-1.
Yeah. The thing is with this award is I'd agree with that fully if it was like the Football Writers Award or something, but the PFA award, it's voted by footballers who I think just go with what the hype is, really, to be honest. And I think towards the end of the season, it's going to be, if he does stay fit, it'll be all about Haaland. What I will say is I've had a lot of people messaging me over the last week. Will Haaland play? Will Haaland play this game? Will Haaland play that game? He's got a month off. He's not going to the World Cup.
Boz, you've got to stop texting Jake.
Not Boz, not just Boz anyway. He's going to play every game, I feel. I feel that every Premier League game or every game.
Even with the Champions League being such a congested 3 weeks coming up?
I think that we could win that group within 3 games. I know that's mad to say. It feels mad to say being a City fan, to be honest, but I think we can win that group early, and those games will be games where we can rest players.
If there's one bet you want to make, I'm slight change of subject here.
Yeah,
there's one bet you might want to look at. For me, it's the top goal scorer market, because I think that's where I think you mentioned this on the preseason pod about the each way betting there. A lot of firms are doing 3 places, or even I think there's 1 or 2 doing 4 places. You got someone like Harry Kane, best price 10-1 now. Like, he's not going to finish top, but you've got to think he's in the top 3.
Well, if Haaland does his cruciate, which no one will want to see, but it's happened, lads, like, then suddenly, like, it's an awful thing to say, but you would have the win part then running for you. People will catch him up.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, even if you don't take the win, you take him, you're doing that effectively just to get the place part of it.
it's a good place win.
That's not bad. And he's on, what's he on, 3 or 4 already? 4 goals already?
4, yeah.
Like, he's playing well. And I think that is the steal if you're looking at a sort of Premier League anti-post at this time of the season.
No, definitely.
Even a
Right, well, let's round it off with our weekend treble then. So best bets from the gang. Mine's been covered in detail, so I'll just get it out of the way early. City -1, even money. Don't really understand why they're that price. I think they'll be going off odds on at that price. Jake, you are going to upset me. We haven't mentioned Crystal Palace, but you think they're going to concede and you've got a goal scorer in mind.
Yeah, so I've watched the extended highlights of the Liverpool Newcastle game on Wednesday night, and Alexander Isak on his debut, he looked phenomenal. He looked absolutely brilliant. Obviously, we spoke about this before we recorded. He was against Joe Gomez, obviously Van Dijk too, who hasn't been the same Van Dijk this season. But I feel that the way that he played was just tremendous. He looks like a perfect fit for Newcastle, to be honest. And 7-4 after scoring at Anfield and having a goal disallowed for offside, which was tight too. I think that 7-4 to score against Palace is massive odds, really big odds for me.
Okay. Farley, you've got a booking in mind, I believe.
Yeah, no, I don't think you're going to be happy with this one, guys. So I know this is our best bets, and this would make the treble over 25-1. But
I've just calculated it, thinking you've put another wrong price on the sheet, like you're 16-1 for -3, but apparently it's right.
it is right. Darwin Núñez to get booked. Now, he's back. He will, obviously, it goes without saying, almost certainly start on the bench now with the way Firmino's playing. But there's no way on earth he doesn't see the field on Saturday. The guy has proven he's an absolute hothead.
This could be the stinkiest bet I've ever seen on this podcast.
No, he's a hothead. Did you see him even yesterday? How angry he was going around the Newcastle antics. I saw on Twitter, and again, someone was saying that they were sat behind the dugout, and apparently he was pretty much shouting like "putas" the whole way through. He was so angry. Like, I think this guy's an absolute card liability waiting to happen in a game like this. Anthony Gordon's going to be in his face, giving him some of that Scouse chat, and he's going to lose his marbles. And for me, you're getting basically 4-1 on this, 19-5. I just think that's an absolute great price.
So we're banking on him coming off the bench
and getting booked.
Is that what you're saying?
I mean, you know what? If he starts, Farley, I'd probably give you the benefit of the doubt. If he comes off the bench, or maybe I'm going to need to back this as an in-play. You can back it as an in-play treble, to be fair, because it's the first leg. So I think we'll see what price he comes off the bench at, rather than pre-game. But
all right, guys, I don't like this stick. I don't like. If he scores now, I want a written apology.
If he scores, he can score.
Oh, no, he doesn't score. That doesn't matter. No, if he gets a yellow, I want a written apology on Twitter for all of you. This is disgusting. I don't
think this is quite the Nottingham Forest draw or win bet that you guys laughed at me for. This is just a little bit loose. But listen, I take the theory. I bow down to your superior thought on cards, but very best of luck with that one, Farley, because I think you're going to need it. 25-1 for the weekend treble. Maybe you might get bigger if you wait and see what he comes off the bench at. See what the refs. You will get the advantage of that, of seeing what the ref's up to. Because if he comes on 60 minutes and no one's been booked, he ain't getting a yellow, is he? So we shall see. Potentially that anger management hasn't really worked out for him by the sounds of it. Right, bits of housekeeping before we go. Please do like, subscribe the video, give us a thumbs up. We appreciate it. Add your comments. We love to know your best bets. If you put them up before they happen, we'll give you a shout next week when they win. And if they don't, we promise we won't laugh at you. We have our own issues. to deal with here when it comes to bad bets on this podcast. But hopefully we found some value. NFL special and the Champions League one to look out for later this week. Big thank you to Sam and Jake, and we'll see you all very soon.